Okay, okay. What was the retcon that Scott Coffin talked off in the Doco interview he did many years ago now? Okay. I'm gonna list off the major theories, and then I'm gonna say which one is right. It's like a critical thinking test, because there's a right answer, and I'm convinced. There might be other stuff, but I think this is the retcon he was at least referring to. I don't actually believe there was only one retcon. That would be insane. Okay. First off, least likely, FNAF World. FNAF World being retconned just makes no sense. Scott says he wish he didn't make it canon, but that does not deny that it is canon, and he said so in the Doco interview. Like, he regrets making it, but it is. And it's the same interview he says that he only retconned one thing, I'm pretty sure. And so why would he say that he regrets making it canon if that was not if that was the retcon, he would just say it's not canon, you know? So, boom. Mic drop. Okay. That's out of the way. The FNAF 1 poster. So in one of the FNAF 1 posters, it says that 5 children are reported missing and a suspect has been convicted. So simple answer here, I think. So they say that likely the owner who did it. Well, there were 2 owners. We know this, Henry and William, and conveniently, William is gone. No, not William. Henry. Henry is gone from the narrative for 30 years, and so it's likely that he was the one convicted. I also think this just makes sense because Henry was the designer behind the animatronics, and so of course if the kids are being lured away by the animatronics, then it makes sense to suspect him. Right, also, then we go move on. I hope that's enough evidence. Boom, he's gone for 30 years, and then eventually maybe he's exonerated, or he just does a sentence. It would even explain his being missing for 30 years. Okay, next one, for real. The box. Oh boy, the box at the end of FNAF 4. So, the answer to what was in the box was likely never intended to be answered, as it was more of a metaphor for the unrelenting thirst for a complete, satisfying story that the FNAF fans have. What's argued to be the retcon is that in FNAF 6 Pizzeria Simulator, the map that you play in every night is designed after the box. I honestly think this was a Easter egg and a hint that FNAF 6 was going to be the finale of the Michael Afton story. I don't think it was a retcon again, because it was never a physical item in the box, and the only hint was that the box, what's in the box, it's the pieces put together. And I think the pieces put together, in my opinion at least, is the story being finished. No? I feel that makes sense. I will put you back together, whatever. It's the final promise of sort of releasing the soul or fixing what was done wrong to the crying child, and that is done in FNAF 6. I think there's no retcon here. If anything, it makes sense that there's a nod to the box in this game. Okay, now on to the second to last one. This is the one I think is the most convincing, even though I don't believe it's the retcon. I don't believe it's the retcon that Scott is talking about. But it is Dream Theory. I used to be a big Dream Theory guy. So, okay. I think the major, evidence that Dream Theory was supposed to be canon is when Scott himself sent messages to a Game Theory live stream. Where they were trying to solve the game, and he said, I'm gonna read each statement and then debunk it in Ben Shapiro style. In FNAF 4 minigame, why would the tiny toy Chica be missing her beak? Okay, then the Dream Theory interpretation is that, he dreamt of the toy Chica. FNAF 2 is a dream. But what I think he meant was that the toy animatronics were all based on toys. Toshika being able to remove her beak when FNAF 2 vents is a reference to this connection, not the like other way around. It's supposed to show that it's in the same universe. What is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. I think this just explains why the crying child is scared of animatronics. It debunks the idea that the missing children incident happened first, which was like a big theory at the time. I think that was what it was meant to say, or at least like that's what Scott would say now that it was meant to say. I don't know if he, but I don't think he like thinks of that as a retcon. I think he kind of can explain that away. 4 games, 1 story. I think this is like kind of against Dream Theory. If it's all 1 story, then why is there like story elements in the first 3 games that don't go anywhere? If it's a dream, like the puppet, what's the puppet supposed? There's no puppet in FNAF 4. That's just a random element, a random piece of story that like goes nowhere if it is a dream, which is not. So I think it's intended to be 1 story. I think, I just think also the previous ones about Toichika is like another evidence to the 4 games 1 story thing. Those are the 3 like things he sent into Game Theory. I wrote down some other things. The mangled toy found in the sister room. Again, that's another callback to the animatronics being modeled after the toys. Nothing more than that. Then the rumors the children say on the playground, which is just again like an explanation with what's seen in the shadows, easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. And then, most compelling argument, the grandfather clock. Shout out Game Theory for this one back in the day. This was crazy. This is still crazy. So, when you end all the nights from FNAF 1 to 3, you hear a grandfather clock. This grandfather clock can be found in FNAF 4 in like the hallway when you peek in. Very cool. In FNAF 4, when you wake up, you hear a digital alarm, not a grandfather clock. So the Dream Theory goes like, oh, all those were like, he had nightmares of game 1 through 3 living in his house. Now he's in like a hospital, so he's hearing the other alarm. I think that's interesting. I think one explanation is that it's like supposed to be an indication of the different spaces. I mean, the grandfather clock was never really that literal. In the first 3, you also hear like children's laughing. I don't think any children are literally laughing, you know. How do you explain the children laughing in Dream Theory? You don't. It's like kind of pick and choose. It could also be, my personal favorite theory, a nod to the protagonist of FNAF 1 to 3 being Michael Afton, so William Afton's son, and the bigger brother, the bully brother of the crying child. And the theory goes that FNAF 4's gameplay is him being tortured by William with like nightmare gas. It's the whole thing. I think this theory is like rather interesting, but I don't think it's really any evidence of retcon happening. But I think it is interesting evidence. And now, peak is about to enter. The obvious answer, the right answer. Charlie's gender. Okay. Charlie in FNAF 2, Charlie being the spirit that possesses the puppet. In FNAF 2, there's a save. There is a voice that goes "save him" in the Give Cake minigame that you can randomly play when you die in FNAF 2. The animatronic that jumps out after the game is finished is the puppet, clearly implying the game is supposed to show how the puppet died. But in FNAF 6, in Pizzeria Simulator, Charlie is explicitly a girl, and it explicitly is shown how she dies, which is outside of the window, like outside of a pizzeria, a Freddy's pizzeria, where a car pulls up on her, just like in the original game, and just like in the original game, she is killed outside, and then the puppet possesses her, but she's a girl, but she's she, her. So I think that these are clearly the same event being portrayed, and I think this is a simple retcon, a somewhat small one, which is exactly why I think it fits the description Scott gave, which is a retcon that barely anyone will notice. It also makes sense because this, unlike the other examples, is a plot point that's heavily focused on in FNAF 6. So we know that Scott surely would have to have thought of how he portrayed this in the past, because he revisited that game in order to portray it again in FNAF 6. So it's just clearly something that wasn't like a mistake. This was it was a conscious retcon. It is the answer. So you can't ever like use it in an argument in a theory. Oh, this part was just, that was the retcon Scott was talking. No, Charlie's gender is the retcon. Anything else, you know, you can say it's a retcon, but it's not the retcon. Boom, 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 boom. That's right, 5 big booms.